The next day, Daniel woke before the sun. His mind was restless. He had spent 2 days wandering the ruins, chasing shadows and listening to the Queen's haunting songs. He had seen her, glimpsed her face, and even heard her voice. Yet the more he learned, the more questions multiplied. Why had she called the beacon? Why hide from him when she could have fled entirely? Determined to confront her, Daniel packed his essentials and climbed the stairs to the palace ruins. The halls were quiet, almost reverent, as if the building itself recognized the Queen's presence and mourned her absence. He moved slowly, careful not to make noise. Every step echoed against the stone, reminding him that this was her home, not his. From the corner of his eye, he saw movement. There she was again at the far end of the grand hall. Her hood was down, silver hair glimmering faintly in the morning light. Her eyes met his, narrowing in caution. "Stop," she said, her voice soft but commanding. "This is your final warning." Daniel raised his hands, showing he meant no harm. "I'm not here to fight. I just want answers. You called for help and I came. Please, tell me why you are hiding." The Queen's shoulders stiffened. She looked as if he had struck her with his words. Then she stepped forward, but cautiously. "Do you not understand?" she asked. "Your curiosity puts you in danger." "I don't care about danger," Daniel said firmly. "I've faced worse than ruins and shadows. I will not leave until I know the truth." For a long moment she studied him. Her eyes, silver and piercing, seemed to see inside him. Finally she sighed. "Very well. If you insist, you will see why you should fear me." She turned and led him deeper into the palace. The corridors were narrower here, walls carved with intricate patterns depicting battles and ceremonies. Daniel noticed that the murals in this section were darker, showing figures falling, fires consuming cities, and a single figure standing alone in every scene, the Queen. "Your people?" Daniel asked quietly. "They are gone," she said. "All gone, and you? You would be next if you stay." Daniel frowned. "Next, what do you mean?" The Queen stopped at a large chamber, the doorway wide and imposing. "Come inside," she commanded. Daniel stepped in carefully. The room was circular, with a high ceiling that arched like the sky. In the center stood a pedestal with a small device glowing faintly. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. "That," Daniel said, pointing. "What is it?" The Queen's expression hardened. "It is the source of the curse that destroyed my people. It binds itself to my bloodline. Anyone who becomes close to me risks their life." Daniel froze. "A curse?" "Yes," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "It is not a weapon you can fight with technology. It feeds on love, loyalty, care, anything that creates a bond. That is why I have hidden, why I have kept everyone at a distance. I could not allow anyone else to suffer." Daniel's mind raced. That's why you run, not because of me, but because of what could happen to me." The Queen nodded. "For centuries I have lived in solitude to protect others. Even calling the beacon was a risk. I did not know if anyone would survive it." Daniel swallowed hard. The weight of her words hit him. She was not cruel or cowardly. She was trying to save lives by keeping her own close to nothing. I didn't understand. I thought you were hiding out of fear or mistrust." "Fear is part of it," she admitted, "but not the main part. I have seen what this curse can do. I have buried countless friends, allies, even lovers. I cannot lose anyone else. Not again." Daniel's gaze shifted to the pedestal, the device pulsing like a heartbeat. "Is this what did it? This machine?" "Yes," she said. "It was created by my council long ago, before the downfall. They sought power, but they unleashed something beyond their control. It clings to me now, and anyone who tries to approach me, especially with affection, becomes bound." Daniel's mind raced, but he refused to step back. He took a deep breath. "Then I choose to face it. Whatever risk exists, I'm willing to take it. I won't leave until I help you, until I understand." "I can't let you suffer alone forever." The Queen's eyes widened. She had never seen someone defy the curse willingly. You don't understand what you are saying. This is not bravery. It is foolishness. You could die." "I understand," Daniel said firmly. "And I don't care. You are worth it." For a moment, silence filled the room. The glow from the device flickered. The Queen took a step back, fear and astonishment mingling in her expression. "No human has ever spoken like this to me," she whispered. Daniel stepped closer, though carefully, respecting her space. "I am not like the others," he said. "I do not judge. I do not flee from danger, I face it. And I face it for you. The queen's lips trembled. She wanted to reject him, to push him away, but the truth was undeniable. She felt a strange pull toward him, a warmth she had not felt in centuries. You should leave, she said again, her voice barely audible. I cannot allow this. I will not leave, Daniel said. Not until I know you. Not until I understand the curse. And not until you let me help you. She closed her eyes, struggling with her emotions. The curse, the centuries of solitude, the endless loss, it weighed heavily on her. She had never allowed anyone close, and now here was a human, standing firm, unafraid. Finally, she spoke. Very well, she said quietly. If you insist, I will show you. But you must promise that you will not try to defy it recklessly. The curse is unforgiving, Daniel nodded. I promise. I will be careful. But I will not turn away from you. She led him to a side chamber, smaller and darker, filled with ancient books and holographic maps. Everything you need to know, she said, is here. But even understanding it is dangerous. This curse does not forgive curiosity easily. Daniel stepped inside, his eyes scanning the walls. He saw records of experiments, diaries of lost leaders, and diagrams of the machine that pulsed in the center of the palace. Every page, every hologram told the same story. Betrayal, greed, and a curse that destroyed a kingdom. I see now, Daniel said softly. You were trying to protect everyone. You were trying to save lives by hiding yourself. Yes, she said. And still someone came. Someone who does not run. Someone foolish enough to risk everything. She looked at him, the corner of her mouth twitching as if trying to smile. I do not know what to do with you. Daniel met her gaze steadily. Do not try to control me. Do not try to push me away. I am here because I want to be. Not because I was ordered, not because of curiosity, but because of you. You are worth every risk. The queen's eyes softened. For centuries she had been alone, wary and burdened with the weight of a deadly legacy. But here was a human, defying all logic, standing unafraid, speaking words of compassion and determination. She had never imagined such a thing possible. The device in the center of the palace pulsed once more, as if sensing the shift in the room. Its light flickered, illuminating both of them. Daniel took a cautious step closer, careful not to intrude, but close enough to show trust. You may freeze me with your courage, the queen whispered. I do not know if this is wise. Daniel smiled faintly. I do not care. All I know is that I will not leave you to face this alone. For the first time in centuries, the queen felt something she had not felt in a long while. Hope. And despite the looming threat of the curse, she allowed herself a small thought. Perhaps this human could be different. Perhaps humanity's strength was not just in technology or power, but in the heart and courage of one who refused to run, even when faced with impossible danger. The first confrontation had ended, not with a battle, but with understanding. Daniel had faced the shadow of the curse, and the queen had faced the truth of human courage. And in the silence of the ruined palace, a fragile bond began to form, one that would be tested by time, danger, and the secrets that still lay ahead. The second morning came cold and gray. A pale sun rose over the ruins, spreading light across the mist-filled streets. Daniel sat near the dying fire, rubbing his hands for warmth. His eyes felt heavy from lack of sleep. Even though his body begged for rest, his mind was too awake, too full of questions about the hooded queen who kept vanishing into the shadows. He had seen her twice now, once in the palace doorway and again at the edge of his camp. Both times she had chosen silence over words, retreat instead of trust. But Daniel was not the kind of man to give up easily. He strapped on his pack, checked his scanner, and began exploring again. The signal from the distress beacon remained steady, pulling him deeper into the city ruins. The further he walked, the more he noticed details. Half-broken homes that still held alien furniture, stairways leading down into tunnels, and streets lined with statues now covered in cracks. Once this must have been a beautiful city. Now it felt like a graveyard, but not an empty one. As he passed between two tall arches, he saw movement again, a shadow slipping around the corner. His heart leapt. He followed quickly, his boots echoing against the stone. "Wait!" he shouted. The figure stopped, turning just slightly. For the first time, Daniel saw part of her face beneath the hood. Her skin shimmered faintly like pearl touched by moonlight. Her eyes were large, glowing faintly with silver light. Even in that brief glance, Daniel felt something powerful, regal, ancient, and sorrowful. Then, like before, she vanished into the ruins, Daniel chased, but the streets twisted like a maze. Soon he found himself lost in a wide courtyard surrounded by broken pillars. He stopped, breathing hard, and laughed bitterly. "You're good at this," he said aloud, though no one answered. "Always running. Always hiding. But I'll find you." He sat on one of the broken pillars and pulled out a ration bar. As he ate, he thought about her eyes. Beautiful, but full of fear. Why fear him, a lone human traveler? That night, Daniel returned to his camp near the palace. Again, as the fire burned low, he heard it, the singing. Soft and haunting, carried on the wind. It was the same sorrowful voice, rising and falling like waves on a distant shore. Daniel closed his eyes and listened. The song spoke of loss, though he didn't understand the words. It carried weight, the kind of pain only someone who had lost everything could know. He stood and followed the sound, careful not to make noise. Through the mist, he saw her. She stood on a high balcony of the ruined palace, her hood pulled back. For the first time, Daniel saw her clearly. Her face was pale and luminous, like light caught in crystal. Her hair fell long and silver, shining softly even in the dark. A crown rested on her head, broken in places but still beautiful. She looked out over the ruined city as she sang, her voice trembling with grief. Daniel froze, unable to move. She was no ordinary survivor. She was a queen, proud yet broken, ruler of a kingdom now turned to dust. He wanted to call out to her, but something stopped him. Instead, he listened until the song ended. When silence fell again, she lowered her hood and vanished into the palace shadows. The next morning, Daniel searched the palace again. He found hall after hall, each one filled with reminders of a fallen kingdom. Some rooms held shattered thrones, others giant murals of battles long past. He wondered how many people had lived here, how many had died, and why only she remained. In one chamber, he found a large table covered in strange carvings. It looked like a star map. Dozens of glowing lines connected planets and systems, but most of the lights had gone dark. Only one still glowed faintly, the planet where he now stood. Daniel touched the map. "So this was your empire," he whispered. "All gone now." Suddenly a sound echoed behind him. He spun around. She was there again, standing in the doorway. Daniel raised his hands. "I'm not your enemy. Please don't run this time." For a moment she didn't move. Then she stepped back, half turning to leave. Desperation filled Daniel's chest. He spoke quickly. "I know you can understand me. You sent that signal. You wanted someone to come. I answered it. I crossed half the stars to get here. If you didn't want me near, you wouldn't have called for help. So why hide?" Her body froze at his words. Slowly she turned her head. For the first time she spoke. Her voice was soft but strong, carrying the weight of centuries. "Go. Leave this place." Daniel's eyes widened. She spoke his language perfectly, though her accent was strange, melodic. "I can't leave," he said firmly. "Not until I know the truth." She stared at him, eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. Then she shook her head and stepped back into the dark. Daniel ran after her, but when he reached the corridor, she was gone again. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. Her voice, both her song and her words, echoed in his mind. She had told him to leave, but her eyes had said something else. Fear, desperation, maybe even hope. He sat by the fire, staring into the flames. "Why are you afraid of me?" He whispered. Hours passed. Then just before dawn, he felt a presence. He turned. She was there again, standing at the edge of the light. Her hood was back, covering most of her face, but he could still see her eyes shining faintly. Daniel didn't move. He spoke gently. "I won't hurt you. I just want to understand, please." She remained silent, so Daniel tried another way. "I saw the murals. You were a queen. This city, this whole world, it was yours, wasn't it?" At those words, her shoulders trembled. She looked away as if his words cut deep. Then she turned and vanished once more. Daniel sighed heavily. He felt like he was chasing smoke. Yet he also felt closer than ever to the truth. As dawn broke, Daniel walked through the ruins again. Everywhere he looked, he saw her shadow. On balconies and hallways, at the edges of courtyards. Always near, never far, but always out of reach. It was like a game, one he didn't fully understand. She wanted him to leave, but she also kept watching him. She could have disappeared completely, but she hadn't. She lingered in the shadows, close enough for him to see, far enough to keep him guessing. By the end of the second day, Daniel realized something important. She was testing him. Testing his patience, his courage, maybe even his intentions, and he was willing to play her game. That night, as he sat by the fire once more, he spoke into the silence. "You don't need to hide forever," he said. "I'm not afraid of you. Whatever reason you have, whatever secret you're holding, I'll wait until you're ready to tell me, but I won't leave. Not until I understand." The ruins stayed silent. The queen did not appear, but Daniel felt her there, somewhere in the darkness, listening. And as the fire burned low, he thought he saw a flicker of silver eyes watching him from the shadows. The palace was quiet, save for the soft pulse of the cursed device. Daniel and the queen had spent days studying it, mapping its energy patterns and learning how it fed on loyalty and love. Each hour brought them closer to understanding, but closer also to danger. Daniel had felt the subtle pull of the curse already. A warmth in his chest whenever he looked at her. A tension in his muscles, a strange exhaustion that came not from physical exertion but from emotional strain. The queen noticed too, her eyes softening whenever he faltered. "You are pushing yourself," she said one evening, her silver hair glowing softly in the dim light. "You do not have to do this alone." Daniel shook his head. "I want to. I've faced death before. This is different. This is about you, about your people, and about making right what was done long ago. I will not abandon you." The queen's eyes glimmered, a mix of admiration and fear. "You do not understand fully. The curse. It can destroy anyone who grows close to me. Even now it feels your strength, your loyalty, and it hungers." "I know," Daniel said, steadying himself, "and I accept it. I will face it no matter the cost." That night they entered the central chamber. The device pulsed more strongly than before, as if sensing their presence, sensing the challenge ahead. Daniel's heart raced, but he walked forward without hesitation. The queen followed, her expression tense. She had never allowed anyone so close to the machine, to her, and now she felt the weight of centuries pressing on them both. "You must understand," she said, voice firm. "This is not a test of skill or strength. The curse feeds on what makes you human. Your loyalty, your compassion, your love. It will take everything it can. You may survive, or you may not." Daniel took a deep breath. "I understand. I choose to face it." The queen stepped forward, placing her hand on the device. A ripple of energy ran through the room. Daniel felt a surge in his chest, a pull toward her and the machine at once. He staggered slightly but held his ground. "Brace yourself," the queen warned. "The curse will test you." Daniel nodded. He focused, centering himself. The energy of the device swirled around him, invisible yet tangible. He could feel it probing, searching, testing. It sensed his emotions, reading his loyalty, measuring his resolve. A sudden pain hit him, sharp and deep. It was as if the air itself had weight, pressing against his chest, stealing his strength. But he did not fall. He held on to one thought: the queen, her people, the hope he carried for them all. The queen watched, her eyes wide. She had never seen anyone endure the curse willingly. Most who approached the machine had tried to resist, fleeing or faltering within moments. But Daniel? He stood firm. Minutes passed, or perhaps hours. Time seemed distorted. The curse pressed harder, attempting to consume his courage, his spirit. Daniel felt it clawing at his mind, trying to bend his will, trying to make him turn away. He gritted his teeth. "I will not leave," he shouted, voice strained but determined. The queen gasped, startled by his strength. She stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You are extraordinary," she whispered. "But you must focus. Do not let it touch your fear." Daniel closed his eyes. He centered himself, breathing deeply. He focused not on the pain but on the purpose. The survival of the queen, the hope of her people, the chance to undo centuries of sorrow. Slowly, the device's pulsing began to change. The energy, once chaotic and hungry, seemed to hesitate. It felt his resolve, recognized his courage, and for the first time in centuries the curse paused. The queen's eyes widened. It is reacting to you differently. No one has ever endured it this long." Daniel opened his eyes, looking at her. "We can do this together," he said. "Tell me what to do." She stepped forward and guided his hands to the device, showing him where the core nodes were located. "We must synchronize our energy," she said. "If we align our focus, we can neutralize it. But it will take both our will, our strength, and our trust." Daniel nodded. "I trust you." The queen hesitated, then placed her hand over his. At that moment, the pulse of the device surged, sensing the bond they had formed. Daniel felt the energy brush against him, Not as an enemy now, but as a test he was determined to pass. Together, they concentrated. Daniel's focus was steady, unwavering. The Queen guided him, matching their thoughts and emotions. Slowly, the machine's chaotic pulse began to align with their combined energy. The room trembled, stone walls shook, dust falling from the ceilings. Energy swirled like a storm around them. Daniel felt the curse probing deeper than ever, testing every fiber of his being, but he held fast, refusing to falter. The Queen's voice rang out, strong and commanding. "Focus, Daniel. Channel your will, your courage, your compassion. Do not let it feed on doubt." Daniel obeyed, centering every thought on her, on hope, on the determination to survive. The pulse of the device grew brighter, then stabilized. A soft, steady glow replacing the chaotic energy. The room fell silent. The curse had stopped, neutralized by the sheer force of human determination and the bond they had created. Daniel staggered slightly, exhausted but alive. The Queen stepped closer, eyes filled with awe. You did it. You endured what no one else could." Daniel smiled faintly. "We did it. Together." She studied him, silver eyes glimmering. I owe you more than I can say. Not just for surviving, but for facing this with me. For showing me that hope, that courage. Still exists." Daniel shook his head. "No debt. You survived centuries alone. You taught me more than I could ever teach you." We both faced the impossible, and we both won. The Queen stepped back and looked around the room. For the first time in centuries, the palace felt alive, not haunted. The curse had been neutralized, and a future, uncertain but possible, stretched before them. "You could leave now," she said softly. "Go back to your world. You have done enough." Daniel shook his head. "I won't leave, not yet. There's more to do. Your people, the history, the future. I want to help rebuild, not just survive." Her eyes softened. "You truly are different from anyone I have known." He stepped closer. "And you are not alone anymore. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The Queen's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Together," she echoed. For the first time in centuries, the ruins felt alive, filled with possibility. The Queen no longer hid in shadows. The curse was neutralized, and a bond, forged through courage, trust, and unwavering human determination, promised a future where neither of them would face the impossible alone. Daniel looked at her, and she met his gaze. No words were needed. The trials had tested them, the curse had threatened them, and yet here they stood, stronger, united, and ready to face whatever came next. The stars outside the palace glimmered as if celebrating their victory. The night air felt lighter, freer, and filled with hope. Daniel knew this was only the beginning, not just for them, but for the legacy of the Queen's people. Together, they would reclaim the past, protect the future, and prove that courage, loyalty, and compassion were forces stronger than any curse. And so, the human who refused to run, and the Queen who had hidden for centuries, faced the dawn of a new age, side by side, unafraid and unbroken. Daniel sat inside the small cockpit of his ship as it glided through the darkness of space. The stars were scattered like dust across a black canvas, silent witnesses to his long journey. He had been traveling alone for weeks, searching for something, anything, that could break the boredom of exploration. That was when he picked up a faint signal. At first it was only static, but then it grew into a soft, repeating tone, almost like a heartbeat. It was a distress beacon. The coordinates pointed to a planet that looked gray and forgotten. No major settlements were recorded in the ship's archive. The system was supposed to be lifeless. Still, the beacon called out, steady and persistent. Daniel tightened his grip on the controls. "This can't be random," he muttered to himself. "Someone's down there." He guided the ship through the thin atmosphere. The planet's surface unfolded below him. Valleys full of mist, broken mountains, and wide stretches of abandoned structures. It looked like a civilization had lived here once, but centuries ago. The ruins were tall, strange, and curved like stone reaching toward the sky. The city seemed empty, yet Daniel couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The ship landed on a flat plateau near the ruins. Dust swirled around as the ramp lowered. Daniel grabbed his pack, checked his scanner, and stepped outside. The air was breathable but cold, carrying a faint metallic scent. His scanner beeped softly, guiding him toward the signal's source. He walked through the ruins. boots crunching against stone paths that had not felt footsteps in years. Massive walls surrounded him, carved with alien symbols he couldn't understand. Some looked like warnings. Daniel stopped when he noticed something unusual. A small fire pit. It was faint, only ashes now, but fresh. Someone had been here recently. He crouched and touched the ashes with his glove. They were still warm. His heart quickened. Not abandoned after all, he whispered. He looked up. The ruins stretched like a maze, shadows hiding countless corners. For a moment he thought he saw movement. A tall figure slipping behind a broken archway. He quickly stood and followed, but by the time he reached the spot, the figure was gone. Only silence greeted him. Hours passed as he explored deeper. He found signs everywhere. Footprints too large to be human, food gathered and left in baskets, fabrics hanging on lines as if someone had been living here all this time. Yet whenever he tried to get closer, the figure would vanish. At dusk, Daniel climbed what looked like the remains of a palace. Its roof was broken, open to the sky, but the walls still bore elegant carvings. From there he could see the entire ruined city. Mist rolled between the streets like ghosts. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed. He spun around. In the doorway of the palace stood a figure, a woman tall and graceful, dressed in flowing robes that shimmered faintly in the fading light. Her face was hidden under a hood, but her posture carried authority like someone used to being obeyed. Daniel froze. Finally, after hours of chasing shadows, she was real. "Hello," he called, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm not here to hurt you." The woman tilted her head but did not respond. For a long moment they stared at each other. Then without a word she turned and slipped back into the shadows. Daniel rushed after her, but by the time he reached the corridor she was gone again. He leaned against the cold stone, frustrated but also intrigued. "Why keep hiding?" he wondered aloud. That night Daniel set up camp near the palace. He lit a small fire, cooked a ration pack, and tried to rest. But sleep refused to come. He kept replaying the moment in his mind. The way she appeared, the way she vanished, and the silent weight she carried. At midnight, as the fire burned low, Daniel heard something. A sound soft and haunting carried on the wind. It was singing. An alien voice, gentle but filled with sorrow. The melody echoed through the ruins, rising and falling like waves. He listened. Captivated, barely breathing. It was her. He stood and tried to follow the sound, but it always seemed just beyond reach. No matter how far he walked, the song would drift away, leaving him surrounded only by silence and stone. By morning, Daniel sat on a broken wall, watching the sun rise over the ruins. He had seen her, heard her, felt her presence, but she refused to come closer. His scanner beeped again, showing the beacon signal still strong. It pulsed from somewhere beneath the palace ruins. That meant she had said it. That meant she wanted someone to come. So why keep hiding? As he stared at the mist-covered city, Daniel realized this was no ordinary survivor. Whoever she was, she carried secrets heavy enough to keep her distant. And he was determined to uncover them. For the rest of the day, Daniel searched the underground levels of the palace. He found long halls lined with empty thrones, broken statues of alien kings and queens, and murals telling stories of battles and victories. The artistry suggested a once great empire, but one mural stood out. Unlike the others, it was not about glory. It showed a single tall figure surrounded by shadows. The figure's crown glowed, but everyone around her looked afraid. Daniel stepped closer, tracing the lines with his fingers. The figure was a queen. His chest tightened. You're not just anyone, are you?" That night, as he sat by his fire again, he sensed her watching from the shadows. He spoke softly, not looking directly at the darkness. "I know you're there," he said. "I saw the murals. You're a queen, aren't you? Maybe the last one of your people. If you wanted me gone, you wouldn't have let me get this far. You called for help and I came. So why are you hiding from me?" Silence. For a long time, only the crackle of the fire answered. Then just as he thought she wouldn't respond, he heard movement. He turned, and there she was again, standing at the edge of the firelight. Her hood still covered her face, but he could feel her eyes on him. She didn't speak. She simply looked at him, then turned and disappeared once more. Daniel sighed. "You don't trust me yet," he said. "That's fine. But I'm not leaving until I know why you sent that signal." He lay down and closed his eyes, though sleep remained shallow. The ruins were alive with mystery, and the queen kept slipping away like a dream. And so the first night on the forgotten planet ended, not with answers, but with deeper questions. Why did she hide? What secret bound her to this ruined world? And why, when she finally revealed the truth, would it freeze him to his very core? The palace was quiet now, save for the soft hum of the pulsing device in the center chamber. Daniel stood near the queen, his eyes scanning the room filled with ancient texts, holographic maps, and scattered artifacts. Every piece told a story, but none more tragic than the tale of the woman before him. The queen's face was pale in the dim light, silver eyes reflecting both fear and centuries of loneliness. Daniel had watched her all morning, trying to understand the weight she carried. Now finally she seemed ready to speak. "I suppose it is time," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "You deserve to know the full truth. But it will shock you, and perhaps you will regret staying here." Daniel shook his head. "I won't regret it. I need to know." She took a deep breath and began. "Long ago, my people were not like this. We were proud, strong, and united. Our civilization spanned many worlds. I was born to lead, to protect, and to ensure our survival. But my council, my advisors, they coveted power. They feared my influence, my voice among the people, and so they betrayed me." Daniel listened closely, sensing the rising tension in her words. "Betrayed you how?" he asked. "They created a weapon," she said. "A machine that could control life itself, capable of immense destruction. But it did not obey them, and it did not obey me. It was designed to protect. Yet it devours." Daniel frowned. "Devours? What do you mean?" She pointed to the device in the center of the room. This machine is cursed. It binds itself to my bloodline. Any being who grows close to me, who cares for me, risks becoming part of its energy. Slowly it drains them. It feeds on emotional bonds, especially love and loyalty." Daniel's stomach tightened. "So that's why you've been hiding." "Not from me, from everyone. You've been protecting them from it." The queen nodded. "Yes, for centuries I have lived in solitude. Friends, advisors, even companions. Anyone who became close to me would eventually suffer. I watched them fade, powerless to stop it. I could not allow anyone else to die because of me." Daniel swallowed. "And the distress beacon? Why call me here if it's so dangerous?" She lowered her head, silver hair falling over her face. "Because I did not know what else to do. I am tired of isolation. I'm tired of watching life fade around me. I hoped someone could understand me. I hoped, perhaps foolishly, that someone could help me break the curse." Daniel stepped closer, gently but confidently. "Then I'll help you. I don't care about the risk. I've faced death before, and I can face it again." "You are worth it." The queen's eyes widened. She had never seen a human so fearless, so determined. "You do not understand what you are saying. You could die quickly, horribly." "I understand," Daniel said calmly. "But I won't leave. Not until we find a way." She remained silent for a long moment, studying him. Her eyes softened, the weight of centuries of sorrow finally meeting human resolve. She had never encountered such courage, such stubborn defiance in the face of danger. Perhaps, she thought, perhaps humans truly were different. Finally, she spoke. "If you truly mean this, if you are willing to risk your life, then you must know the full extent of what this curse does." Daniel nodded. "Tell me everything." She began again, voice steady but heavy with emotion. "The machine was designed to amplify loyalty, devotion, and love, turning them into energy for my people. My council thought they could harness it, use it to dominate others and secure our empire. But they were wrong. The machine became uncontrollable. It feeds on the closest bonds, the strongest emotions. I cannot touch it without risk. I cannot trust anyone near it without risk. And anyone who loves me suffers." Daniel listened quietly, absorbing every word. "So that's why you always hide. You call the beacon, hoping someone will come, but you stay away to protect them." She nodded slowly, her eyes glimmering with unshed tears. "Yes, I have hidden for centuries. I have run from companions, allies, friends, even family. Loneliness is a small price compared to the lives I could lose." Daniel's heart ached for her. "You don't deserve this," he said softly. "No one does. But we can try to fix it. There has to be a way to break the curse. Technology, ingenuity. Humans are good at solving impossible problems." The queen's lips trembled. "You are brave. Or foolish. Perhaps both. But your courage is unlike anything I have seen. I have expected fear, hesitation. And yet you stand here offering yourself to this danger willingly." Daniel smiled faintly. I'm not here for glory. I'm here for you, and for your people, if they are still out there. We'll find a way. The queen looked at him, studying his face as if trying to memorize every detail. You are human, she said finally. You are mortal, fragile, and yet somehow. Your spirit is strong, Daniel shrugged. I've faced death before, but I've never faced someone like you, and I want to help. I won't abandon you. For the first time, the queen allowed herself to hope. Perhaps this is the first time I have felt hope in centuries. She paused. But the curse is not simple. It is intelligent in a way. It adapts. It senses trust, loyalty, and love. And it punishes them. Anyone who defies it suffers. Daniel stepped closer, cautiously. Then we will study it. Carefully, we'll observe it, learn its patterns, and find a way to stop it. The queen's gaze softened further. You speak of defiance, yet you do not fear. That is human. Remarkable, but dangerous. I know the risks, Daniel said, but I cannot stand aside. You are worth it. I will find a way, no matter how impossible it seems. For hours, they pored over the ancient records and holographic maps. The queen explained the history of her people, the betrayal of her council, and the machine's creation. Daniel took notes, asked questions, and suggested experiments. The queen corrected him gently, her knowledge vast and precise. Through it all, Daniel noticed something he hadn't before. Though she remained distant, there was a softness in her expressions when she looked at him. She had never allowed anyone so close before, not in centuries. At one point he paused and said, You're not just hiding from me, are you? You're hiding from everyone, because you love them too much to risk losing them. The queen's eyes filled with tears. She turned away, hiding her face. Yes, you see too much. That is exactly why I cannot allow anyone near me. Daniel stepped closer, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. I know the risk. I accept it. You don't have to face this alone anymore. She trembled at his touch. For centuries, no one had offered her such trust, such courage. And yet, here was a human, mortal and fragile, willing to face the impossible for her. The pulsing device in the room flickered, as if sensing the change. The queen took a deep breath. Perhaps it is time to try. With you, together. Daniel nodded. Together. They worked late into the night, studying every detail of the machine and the curse. Daniel suggested approaches, tested hypotheses, and learned more about her people's history than he had expected. The queen, for her part, slowly allowed herself to guide him, to share her knowledge and trust him with secrets she had guarded for centuries. By dawn, a fragile understanding had formed. They were no longer just queen and human. They were partners in defiance, united against a force that had destroyed entire civilizations. The queen finally spoke, voice soft but filled with a new strength. You give me hope, human. Perhaps the first true hope I have had in centuries. If anyone can survive this, perhaps it is you. Daniel smiled. Hope is powerful, stronger than fear, stronger than any curse. And I won't give up, not on you, not on your people, and not on this planet. The queen looked at him, silver eyes glimmering. For the first time in her long, sorrowful life, she felt a sense of possibility. And for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that the curse, though deadly and cruel, might be overcome, not by power alone, but by courage, trust, and the determination of a single human heart.